Well, it seems like this is the fragrance that everybody has been waiting for from Parfums de Marly. This new fragrance, ALTHAIR, just recently launched and now selling at Lucky Scent, is quite a delicious offering from Parfums de Marly. Now, there are some familiarity things about this fragrance because it kind of connects with the previous fragrances from the house, but this is definitely a fragrance on its own, focusing on one of my favorite notes. My number 2 favorite note, vanilla. So today in this video, I'm going to talk to you all about the latest release from Parfums de Marly, ALTHAIR, created by Hamid, Merati-Kashani, and Elias, Erminides. So if you're curious to learn about this one, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Are you a fan of Parfums de Marly fragrances? Have you been waiting for ALTHAIR from Parfums de Marly? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. So when I first heard about this fragrance, I got really excited because I wasn't really impressed or excited about the last release that Marly did for the men. So when I saw vanilla in the notes for this one, I got really excited. And also the fact that Hamid Merati-Kashani is the perfumer for this one. And so that got me excited because he does some great work. And it seems like he's having a great year with some really great releases. And I know there are some other launches that are going to soon drop from this perfumer at the end of the month, which I'm going to tell you about as well. But let's talk about ALTHAIR in this video because it's quite delicious. First of all, when I first smelled this fragrance, there's definitely that familiarity about the fragrance and reminded me of the DNA of Parfums de Marly fragrances. But of course, this is a vanilla-focused fragrance, and it definitely goes into the vanilla direction. But again, this is a 2023 launch created by Hamid Merati-Kashani, Elias, Erminides. I would call this a woody amber fragrance. 125 ml is $350, or 75 ml is $250. And I do have a discount code as well. It's 10% off. It's in the info box. You can go use that discount code over at Lucky Scent for this fragrance or any other fragrances. And if you want to find out more about ALTHAIR, please click the link to Lucky Scent. You'll find out all the information about this outside of my review here today. But ALTHAIR features notes of orange blossom, bergamot, cinnamon, and cardamom. In the heart notes, we've got bourbon vanilla and Elemi resin. Finally, in the base notes, we've got Guaiac wood, Ambrox, Praline, and Musk. So what do we get from ALTHAIR? So ALTHAIR right off the bat reminds me of other fragrances from Parfums de Marly, most importantly Layton. I think the cardamom in this fragrance reminds me of the cardamom in that fragrance. Also the dryness of this fragrance reminds me of the dryness of that fragrance. So I feel like they're somehow connected. I don't think they're created by the same perfumers. Most likely they're not, and also from the same firm. So somehow they've got the DNA down of this brand, and they can go from firm to firm, and then end up having their fragrances smell not necessarily alike, but have that DNA that goes from one perfume to the other. But for this one, the fragrance itself is an overdose of bourbon vanilla, and it's definitely a vanillic fragrance. And it's actually done in a way that's quite masculine for it to be worn by a man, but unisex enough for a woman to appreciate a vanilla fragrance like this. To me, it's a very powdery and dry, dusty vanilla fragrance with light creamy and syrupy undertones there. It creates a powdery effect when you're wearing it, and definitely it fills the air with this beautiful smell. But when I'm wearing this fragrance, I do get that praline note connected with the bourbon vanilla. There's definitely a sweet quality about it. Quite delicious. I like this combination. And then there's that warm spice of cinnamon that comes in. Cinnamon to me, cinnamon tends to have a bit of a holiday-ish vibe. For me, I'm not getting that here. And I feel like they're using it in a way that it doesn't highlight the cinnamon too much, but there's definitely a spice here. It's noticeable because this fragrance is quite spicy. When they overdose on cinnamon, I feel like it turns it into kind of a holiday-ish vibe, and I'm not getting that here, which is fine because it'll make it into a complete other fragrance. But definitely the fragrance has loads of spice here with that cinnamon and also the Guaiac wood, whereas the cinnamon or whatever kind of note that's in here that's cinnamony is providing a warm spice to the fragrance. The cardamom, on the other hand, is actually providing a fresh spicy effect to the fragrance because this fragrance has a contrast running throughout it with warm notes and also fresh notes. And we've got bergamot in here as well to provide more of that fresh, characteristic to the fragrance. And then it's, of course, loads of warm notes are, carrying the fragrance on to the dry down of the fragrance. But we've got lots of Ambroxan here, and I feel like Ambroxan contributes the dry effect to the fragrance, and that's why we've got a very dry fragrance. Ambroxan makes fragrances last a long time, and it adds its own unique characteristic. In this case, it's called Ambrox, but it's similar. But it adds its unique characteristic of providing a very dry woodiness, an ambery touch, a dry amber, a bit marine, kind of aquatic thing, and then finally the muskiness that it provides. Ambrox or Ambroxan is supposed to be the replacement for the very expensive ambergris. To me, they don't smell alike, but maybe they might act alike, but definitely creates a very dry effect here with the Ambroxan, and then provides musk in addition to the musk in here as well. Along the way, you'll experience some, citrusy touches of orange blossom, more resinous touches with Elemi, and then there's, I think the Guaiac wood in this that's present in this does provide a bit of a more creamy edge to the woods, because I said this is a very dry fragrance, and it acts very, very dry. So it's dry and powdery and a bit dusty as well, and I think it's that overdose of Ambroxan, because traditionally, bourbon vanilla or vanilla in general is very syrupy and ambery, and we don't have that in here. There's some touches of it here, some creamy and syrupy touches, but it's, overdosed with the dryness, and you don't get that kind of syrupiness. And also, because of this dryness, it acts a bit like Leighton. Not smelling like it, because the only thing from Leighton I get here is the cardamom note, which was prominent there. But to me, it's very well connected with that fragrance, and I feel like it fits into this collection perfectly. So I don't talk about performance much either, but I'm going to say this is a very long-lasting fragrance, but it's not over-the-top intense. Typical with a lot of other Parfums de Marly fragrances, it acts very strong, it lasts a long time, and it does linger on for quite some time. It has great projection and sillage as well. But you know what? It's a really, really delicious vanilla fragrance. Once again, really doing a great job with this fragrance. I wasn't really happy with the last fragrance that Marly put out, but vanilla always excites me, and this is kind of like the year of vanilla, or maybe the decade of vanilla, because we've been having a lot of great vanilla fragrances, and brands keep putting out vanilla fragrances that I really, really enjoy. There's not one that I don't like. Once in a while I'll find something I don't like, but here in this case, it's super, super delicious and done in a way that Parfums de Marly fragrances are done, and I'm sure it's going to satisfy a lot of people. So the bottle that it's in, it's the masculine bottle. It's male targeted bottles, because the feminine bottles are different at Marly versus the male bottles that are like this. But it's very unisex, so a woman can totally pull this one off right off the bat. Because I feel like even though we have the distinguishing bottles, feminine and masculine, I feel like these bottles are definitely unisex, so if a woman wants to wear them, they can. And the other thing I should say is also, some of the bottles are frosted, this one for sure, and also that Leighton bottle is frosted as well. And so you've got this kind of a connection with the fragrances, and so they're connected, but they're, similar DNA and everything, but definitely different fragrances. So I think this is going to be a hit for sure with everyone that's into vanilla, for fans of Parfums de Marly fragrances and so on. So if you haven't gotten your nose on it, please get your nose on it. One more thing I should say, I believe Hamid Merati-Kashani has done some fragrances in the past for Marly, and he's done a really, really great job here with this fragrance. I guess we can also say, is it the year of Hamid Merati-Kashani? Because he's got a lot of great projects that he's put out recently with fragrance after fragrance. And I've got some fragrances I'm going to talk to you about here within the next couple of weeks as well. Stay tuned for that to find out. We've got some interesting announcement to make, but we'll get to that later. But I feel like, he's doing some great work. Amouage's recent King Blue fragrance and various other fragrances that I got my nose on, all created by Hamid Merati-Kashani. But for sure, this is definitely going to be a crowd pleaser. Any vanilla lover should get your nose on it. It's definitely a great vanilla, especially if you're a fan of Marly fragrances, because definitely you have the DNA there and the recognizability factor about it. So good, guys. I hope you guys get to try the fragrance. I like it a lot. I love vanilla, and this one's definitely a one for you to check out. So this is Marly, Parfums de Marly's ALTHAIR. Have you gotten your nose on it yet? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Let me also know if you're a fan of Hamid Merati-Kashani's fragrances, and also what other Marley fragrances do you enjoy. And don't forget to take advantage of that discount code. I have it in the info box. Use the link to go to Lucky Scent and check out all the fragrances they have there. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Well, I was so wrong. I guess I got the connection. Leighton is created by Hamid Merati-Kashani, and it does remind me of it. But you know what? In the end, I think it's only the fact that the fragrance is dry like Leighton, and also it has that cardamom, which kind of connects me to Leighton. But in the end, it's definitely a different fragrance in that it's very vanillic. And even though Leighton does have vanillic touches, this one is a vanilla bomb instead of that one. But Hamid Merati-Kashani has created several fragrances, and I don't think this is the entire list, but he's created this new one, ALTHAIR, Leighton and Leighton Exclusive, Pegasus and Pegasus Exclusive. He's created Percival, although I think he might be creating some of these fragrances with other perfumers. Sedley, I believe he's created with Olivier Cresp, and Oriana, I believe he's created with Nathalie Lorson. But I feel like he's created a Castor as well, and maybe some other fragrances from the house. So yeah, the DNA kind of is definitely reminding me of the DNA of Leighton. So there's definitely that connection, and I feel like once a perfumer understands the DNA of a fragrance, they can kind of quickly do something that connects one fragrance to the other. Now, I mentioned something about the bottle, how it is that frosted kind of bottle, whereas some of the bottles of Marley's are shiny, not necessarily matte finish and frosted like this. And I feel like the ones that are in that kind of more shiny bottles are not as dry as the ones that are in this kind of, matte frosted kind of glasses. I don't think that's, the word is not frosted, but it does kind of have a frosted effect. It's more matte finish. There's a bit of roughness about it. So I don't know if you guys have ever made that connection, but anytime the bottles are like this, I feel like the fragrances are drier. And, Harrod to me has more syrupy touches. Wajan has more syrupy touches. Greenlee is definitely also transparent, and it's even, very fresh and citrusy. So I feel like, you know what you're going to get when the bottle is whatever situation the bottles are from Marley. But yeah, it's a great house, has some great releases. Some of my earlier journey in the fragrance community were from Marley because I liked their intensity and also their more beastly qualities. And so just was really disappointed with the last fragrance in the green bottle. I didn't really care for it much. It reminded me too much of, some of the fragrances from, I guess, both of bottles of something from Calon and some fragrances from Initio Parfums. And that's another thing I forgot to mention, that the vanilla in this fragrance does remind me of some fragrances from Initio Parfums as well, because I feel like both brands kind of shared the DNA. They're connected for sure, and I feel like they probably use similar perfumers. But either way, this is definitely a solid release for the vanilla lover. It'll be a great winter fragrance, autumn, winter. And if actually you've got the pumpkin colors right here, right? This is definitely autumn in a bottle. Maybe more appropriate for autumn, but I think it's strong enough for winter and any cold days to wear. Either way, great release from Marley. I think they're kind of back with this one. We'll see what happens after this one. But if you're a vanilla lover, definitely get your nose on ALTHAIR from Marley. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Goodbye.